I am a maternal infant health advocate, a public health leader, community advocate, and just also I work with Department of Public Health, but I'm not here representing in that role. But I am grateful to be a part of this work for Black Maternal Health Week. And in that role, I have served to make sure that we have a number of work around our AIM, African American Infant and Maternal Mortality Community Action Teams, as well the initiative doing community outreach and engagement. And I am going to pass the mic to my co-host, Janette Robinson Flint, and she will introduce herself.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Janette Robinson Flint, and I am the current Executive Director of Black Women for Wellness. Black Women for Wellness has been around 23 plus years, and we have been working on issues of health and well-being for Black women and girls that entire time. We started out with a program called Shinganzi, that we called Shinganzi, which is a Kiswahili word for auntie, or father's auntie on the father's side, to be in particular, or in specific. And that was a mentoring program where we asked women to mentor expectant women until the baby was 1 year old, which is a very vulnerable time for Black mamas and babies, that first year of life for both. So that's what we've been doing at Black Women for Wellness for the past 20 plus years. And the past 5 years, we have been working in partnership with Black Mamas Matter Alliance to celebrate, uplift, highlight the experience, the lived experience of Black women having babies in the United States of America. Generally speaking, when I say Black Women for Wellness, I'm talking about Black women wherever we are from in the diaspora, whether we're from Zanzibar, which I am just back from, or where we're from Stockton, right? Because the issues of racism and sexism are across the globe. But here in the United States, for the last 400 years, we have been fighting for our lives, and we are still fighting for our lives. So we are pleased to join with our folks in the struggle across the country in recognizing Black Mamas Matter Week and Black Maternal Health Week, and highlighting solutions to the challenges before us. So Davion, we are pleased to have you in conversation with, I'm just saying, two Black women with opinions. As Adjoa says, sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree, but we always do it with love. And know that these relationships and these conversations will continue. And tonight we are pleased as two Black women with opinions to bring in a brother or two, because we know y'all have opinions too around pregnancy and childbirth and labor and raising children and infant and maternal mortality, and how we go about finding solutions to the health inequities that we are facing. So welcome, Davion.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to read Davion's bio and then allow him to further introduce himself and talk about what he's doing. Our topic, as I was sharing, our topic on tonight is for Black Maternal Health Week, we would like to engage with fathers. And what we want to do is highlight how Black men can support Black women in pregnancy and birthing, how they support their infant, and then how can they be supported in the journey of parenthood in our community as well, and how can they be a part of this work that we're doing and the sustainability of our family and community, and being a part of the full village and how they have been a part of. And so Davion Maudlin is a San Diego State graduate with his Master of Science in Human Services. He is the current fatherhood coordinator for the Perinatal Equity Initiative within the AIM initiative, which is African American Infant and Maternal Mortality for LA County. He is a Long Beach City College adjunct professor. Okay. He is, I had a flashback to my dad. He was a professor too when I was a kid. He is a Expecting Fathers group creator and facilitator. And he is also a Black Daddy Dialogue facilitator. He has 11 years of experience working with children and families in social work in LA County, as well as Orange County. Welcome, Davion Maudlin.
Thank you. I appreciate the time, you guys being here.
Yes.
Appreciate you guys letting me join. Never done a podcast before, so this is going to be
Well, we're recording, and Jan, you know, she loves to go live on Facebook. We all tend to go live on Facebook, but actually our podcast will then be on Spotify. And where else will we be, Jan? You got to come off of mute. Just Spotify? Are we on Buzzsprout too? Buzzsprout and Spotify. Okay, perfect. So go right ahead, introduce yourself, tell us about yourself, Davion.
So I'm Davion Maudlin. Been working with under the PI and AIM initiative now for about a year now. Came on to help start and spearhead the Fatherhood coordinator, the Fatherhood initiative portion that's under AIM. I am a father of one, 13-year-old daughter. Going throughout this journey over the last year, I've been able to transition some of my skills that I've acquired during social work and transition them over into our fight to pretty much our fight against the AIM initiative, which is fighting the inequities of which our Black babies and our Black mothers die at childbirth or during that first year after birth. And being able to make this transition has been a special transition for me because I was not the person when my daughter was born. I was not the best advocate for her mother because I didn't know how to be. I didn't have the knowledge of what needed to be done. I didn't have the words of what I needed to express myself as far as me not understanding what was going on, needing help with what was going on. I didn't know who to reach out to. I didn't know how to reach out to anybody. And so learning throughout social work over the last 10, 11 years and then making this transition to help other fathers has been like an amazing experience for me, especially considering that when my daughter was born, I was only 19 years old. So becoming a father at such a young age and then now having this opportunity to help out other young fathers and older fathers or fathers who are my age who are becoming fathers for the first time, helping them get over that scary hill of the unexpected and helping them gain some knowledge of how to be a better advocate for their partner has been a big blessing for me in my life at this point.
Thank you. I'm glad you share that, and I'm glad that you didn't mind being transparent in that. It's good to know, like, you know, well, tell me for you, because you and I work together, but in your role now, how has that been for you? How comfortable or have you found your zone yet? Being here, it's been all right.
Yeah, it's been a year.
Okay.
In connecting with the fathers, that part has been pretty smooth, pretty easy. I'm really comfortable with that. The discomfort comes with working with other professional entities, and they just still don't understand how to connect with Black fathers, or not even how to connect with them, but they don't even understand how to interact with them and engage with them and make them feel included. A lot of times, from the get-go, from a family being introduced to a professional facility or a medical facility, and they're bringing their family there because they're about to have a baby. From the get-go, it seems like the father's kind of excluded. And so trying to have those conversations, also brainstorm ways that they can improve these processes. But just having those conversations, sometimes it can be uncomfortable because it's like, that should be automatic. But the mom and the dad should automatically be included. But a lot of times the dad is pushed to the side or forgotten about or just not included at all. And so that's been the hard part for me. That's been the uncomfortable part for me. That's been the part where I'm trying to find my best footing in there because situation isn't the same. Every facility isn't the same. All medical offices are not the same. All mental health offices are not the same. And so trying to find from the outside looking in, it seems like we're trying to find a textbook answer of how to engage. but it's really not, because you're dealing with human professionals who are having to provide services. And we have just the human side of that and just the actual season process.
Right. Jan is still on mute, so that gives me time, because when she comes in and asks a question, she's gonna come in and ask a question. So I'm going, what?
Here, do not try to take advantage of me being on mute.
Okay, so I'm gonna make sure, let me do this. I'll text her, do a multi-screen for us if you can. But at any rate, so Davion. Jan, did you give Alexis a co-hosting, or make sure we either one or both of us have co-hosting so we can help with the spotlight? What
I can do that.
How was it when you found out, or was it coming into this, or earlier you knew or had the knowledge that Black women were, dying on the birthing table, or ran the risk of dying during pregnancy and childbirth?
I knew about it before coming into the position, but I didn't know the actual numbers and the gaps are Black women in other races and ethnicities. A surprising thing, and alarming numbers that I heard, but I was completely unaware of the large gap that was at the rate at which our women were dying and babies were dying also.
Okay. Have you, in your experience as yet, with the fathers that you work with, and we'll go into talk about the various programs, Black Daddy Dialogue and the Expectant Father group, but have you come in contact with any of the fathers who've either had a loss? And I think one of the things that is really, because folks know me, they're like, she's the one that's going to ask where are the men. She's going to be like, bring the men to the conversation. Men need to be involved in our reproductive justice conversation, because I have a thing that I have recently started saying, there is no creation without a donation. And that is You're on mute. I could say, hey, that could be my opinion, but it's the reality, it's the fact. So.
Okay. That might be your opinion today, but know that science is quickly making a difference in that particular statement.
Oh, yeah.
But I do want to say I am not undermining or even underestimating the influence of fathers, because you all are important. And I think you sharing your personal story was key also, because so many brothers have a personal story that they are absolutely terrified of sharing. They feel very isolated and very lonely in what happens. And even in listening to some of the stories of brothers who have lost children, it's like they have become isolated in the equation. It's all about the mom and that parents and that experience. So we are more than pleased that we can bring in this voice of men and really bring in how important those support systems are for maintaining and sustaining life, mental health, and even physical health, and eliminating this health disparity that is so unnecessary at this point in time.
Right.
I used to think that for me, it was because I was there, but I just didn't know the proper ways to advocate for. I didn't know how to be a true, actual support aside from just being present. And I used to think that was because I was young. And then now being in this line of work and just other previous professional jobs I've had, I see now that it's just a lack of knowledge, and that lack of knowledge stops the confidence from those fathers wanting to step in and be there. Because like I said, now with us doing these groups, I've had 3 of my expecting fathers were over the age of 30. And so, and they go through the course and they're like, man, this is a lot of knowledge, a lot of things I didn't think of, a lot of things I didn't know. So I used to say it was just because I was young, but no, like now I'm understanding, like, no, it's just a lack of knowledge, and that stops them being there, fully being there and properly advocating, not just being present. Because these guys have been present the whole time before they come see me, before they participate in any of these groups. They're there, but they just don't know how to properly advocate or know when to step in and when to step back. Because I have had a couple of fathers who've been like really overbearing, and it's like, no, sometimes you gotta let the medical professionals be the medical professionals. We don't know everything, but so I think that's one of the biggest things I've learned over the past year. It hasn't had anything to do with age. It's really about the access to knowledge and giving them that chance to fathers to feel empowered.
Thank you. No, that's really helpful. I think Jan and I, we're both those that had our fathers, and so I think that we also carry different perspectives, but we also, and we were single moms too. I'm probably the whole time, I don't know Jan the whole time, but thing about it is it's still having the wanting to ensure that brothers are very aware of to be informed and be educated, but then also to be able to be supportive in the preventive models. I think one of the good things is like, especially I remember watching that, not the last season, but the season before of Insecure. And I really was excited that they highlighted postpartum depression, right? Because for so long, our community looked at it as though it was, the fault of the mother, and it was because of being uninformed and miseducated, and even mothers then didn't know how to respond and go to a provider, have a mental health professional that can say, no, you're actually suffering from postpartum depression. You don't, it's nothing that you get to decide, because it can happen to any and everyone. It just happens, it could happen differently for all. I like the scene when he, along with her friend, so it was her mate, was going to look for her. And when he found her, he was like, hey, I'm here for you. I got you. And I think that's important. And I'm not sure, have you in your, you could tell us about each group from Black Daddy Dialogue. I know that Henry created that and generally facilitates, but you and Jason have come in as co-facilitators as well. And then you could tell us about your group, and if you get to touch on any of those topics, that topic as well.
Yeah, so within Black Daddy Dialogue, as our men's support group that runs monthly, the second Wednesday of every month. And within that group, that is more of a open forum group where we let all the guys come in. Right now, we're doing it all virtually. So we're all able to meet on Zoom. And when the fathers come into the group, and it's open to, the way we express it is, it's open to any father, stepfather, grandfather, or any person who is in a paternal role in a child's life that identifies any part as African-American or Black. So if the child is African-American or Black, or half or partially African-American or Black, you're more than welcome to participate within our group. And within the group, the fathers usually bring in a topic that they want to talk about, something that's been going on with them personally, or something that they heard about, maybe some storylines that was going on pertaining to children. And that's where we spark the conversation at. And then us as facilitators, we just make sure the focus of the group or of the conversation just stays around our children and how we can best be proper providers, adequate advocates for our children. And then that's all we do, is reshape the conversation back towards that. But it's really led by the fathers, and that's why it's a support group. And I think that's why the fathers continue to come back, because they're getting out of it what they want from it. They're getting out of it what they're putting into it. And within that group, it's not like one father says something, then us as facilitators, we try and give advice or anything like that. Like, everybody's in there talking back and forth and giving their opinions, giving their views, giving their experiences, which is the most helpful part. Everybody having their own separate experiences and being able to lend their opinion to the conversations. Within the Expecting Fathers group, that is ran almost cohort style. So when we start the Expecting Fathers group, it's 5 consecutive weeks. We do it every Tuesday within those 5 weeks. And that one is more curriculum based. And we go through all 3 of the trimesters of pregnancy, and then we go through postpartum period also. And within that, and we also provide resources around Los Angeles that the fathers can reach out to for mental health, behavioral health, also with breastfeeding. And there's also websites and videos that I include on how to help with breastfeeding, how to hold a baby, how to diaper a baby, and things like that. So we provide everything from the point of finding out that they are pregnant all the way up until labor, delivery, and postpartum. As you can see, I think you can see behind me a little bit, I have the flyer up. So during the 3rd week, we talk about postpartum depression and anxiety and prenatal anxiety and depression. And honestly, I tell all the guys who join the group after the 3rd week, I always tell them like, this has been that's the most impactful week, because as we address postpartum depression, they get to learn about signs that they get to see within their partner, where their partner may be going through postpartum anxiety or depression, and how to step in and help with that. Also get to address how it's kind of neglected within fathers, and how to properly address it within fathers, or how to see it if they may be experiencing that. And also what that conversation lends into is us talking about our past. Because every single time we go into this week, the fathers, first thing they say is, well, I went through this, I feel like this from the past, and I don't want to pass that on to my children. So it goes from postpartum depression and anxiety to us having conversations about our own mental health, our own behavioral health issues, or our own past traumas. And then that opens up that entire conversation. That week is really what draws the group together, and makes that group a little bit closer as they go through the weeks together. And I think that's been like the most impactful week so far.
That's excellent. I think that is excellent, especially to be able to have other men. And we were excited, like, the Black Daddy Dialogue, for those, I'm just sharing history, originated out of the South LA, South Bay AIM-CAT Family Centered Models of Care work group. So that's our AIM community action team for South LA, South Bay. And Henry was like one of the first gentlemen that I was able to reach out to when we were forming the community action team, asked him to get involved. And, for him, it was like, how do I get fathers who are unfamiliar with AIM and give them like some of the foundational guidelines, and as he's learning too around AIM, and then his experience in working with fathers. So from his previous work with another organization. And now I think he has his own organization, Fathers for a Brighter Future. But, he did say, and it was exciting to support him in that it was created for, kind of like the for us, by us. So for Black fathers, by Black fathers, and the women, and we don't participate, ladies, we don't, because, they have been uninvited to plenty of the stuff that we have had, or not invited, I should say. And so I think that is, and I think for both of these groups, is what's good is that men to just be there without us, like they are.
So I wanted to jump in and ask a quick question. And my first two quick questions. One, is this something, because I know we talked about Black Daddy Dialogues, is this something, the program that you're running in Davion, did that evolve out of that? And what's the relationship with Black Daddy Dialogues? And the reason why I say that, because it very much sounds like a peer support group, and just wondering, what are the quote requirements? So if I'm listening to this podcast or watching on Facebook in Stockton or Kansas City or Atlanta, what do I need to start a father support group, or even this peer group pulled together to begin to have some conversations, right? Because I think they're so necessary among Black women, Black men. And I also think, there are conversations that Black women don't need to be in. That this serves a purpose, especially around this issue of being a father and supporting the baby's mom. And also my second quick question around this, and maybe it's not so quick, is the conversation centered around Black men. I think there is plenty trauma, and I'm not trying to talk about the oppression Olympics, but there is plenty trauma that Black men experience in this country, particular to this country. And do you all talk about the trauma of being a Black man as it comes to fatherhood, or are you centering Black women to say, this is how you support baby's mama? Or is it, this is how, this is what you might be going through? And I noticed that particularly around that word provider, because sometimes we have to redefine how Black men can be providers in the family, given the economics, financial situation, the racism and the structural racism that deliberately keeps Black men out in that regard. And I'm going to catch up on my television binge watching because I haven't seen Insecure this final season at all. But I also worry about those stereotypes of Black fathers that are on TV now and how they influence that self-perception of how Black fathers should be, and how those things come up in the conversation that Black men are having about this issue of being a father. My quick questions.
Those were long. Go ahead. And tell her to repeat herself.
Okay, no. So for the first question, the Expecting Fathers group is not directly stemmed from Black Daddy Dialogue. The Expecting Fathers group is directly a result of the AIM initiative. So that's why we're doing it.
The PEI selections that we all did that time when we were able to support the PEI application. Yeah,
I'm trying to get us not to speak in acronym and see how
Perinatal Equity Initiative.
Yeah, because people might not know.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah, so that's where the Expecting Fathers group comes from. That's why we're going over all of the trimesters of pregnancy into postpartum, because we want to help these fathers get prepared for their child. So every single father that is participating in that group does not have a child yet. They're all on their first child and their partner is currently pregnant. Some of the guys that participated, they're in like the beginning of their first trimester with their partner, and some of the guys have participated. We just finished up last week, and two of those guys' babies are like due within the next week or two. So everybody that's in the Expecting Fathers group has a child on the way, never been a father before. And the age range so far for that group has been, I think the youngest guy has been 23 and the oldest has been 32. So it's a pretty wide range right now. And you are correct. Black Daddy Dialogue, that one is a support group. That one is a peer support group. And that's how that one is ran. The Expecting Fathers group is more, it's curriculum based, but it isn't just slideshows and be quiet and listen to me talk and preach the whole time. It isn't that. Did I answer the first question? You're on mute.
Kind of, sort of, but yeah, go ahead. And
Okay, and then for the second question, so the second question is, repeat the beginning part of the second question. I know the second part, I know what I'm saying to the second part. You're on mute again.
The question was kind of like in two parts. Is the support centered around Black men, right? Or is it support centered around Black men supporting baby mama type of thing?
So for Black Daddy Dialogue, the focus is whatever the topic the fathers introduce. Sometimes it's father-centered and it has absolutely nothing to do with their partner. It's maybe just a direct connection to them and their child, or maybe there's their own struggles, and we address that. Sometimes the topics are geared towards actual interactions with their partner, whether they're together, married, or if they're separated. And that ranges from everything from being in the home, intimacy, to maybe child support issues. So it ranges the entire spectrum. Whatever support those fathers need in that instance, that's what we tend to. So Black Daddy Dialogue is not father-centered or mother-centered. It's directly whatever they feel like they need to address in that moment. The Expecting Fathers group it's kind of dual. I want to give them the proper tools and the empowerment to support their partner, because our goal is to lower the numbers of Black women who die at childbirth and Black babies who die at childbirth, and during that first year of life. But also I center it around the father because I want them to feel empowered to step in and not be a secondary parent. I want them to feel like they are parent 1A, 1B with their partner. And so I want them to feel like in certain situations, they need to take the lead. In certain situations, the mother needs to take the lead. If you guys are in a example, if we're going over being in a medical facility, going to a prenatal appointment, sometimes I tell them sometimes the doctor may not address the father. So the doctor may be speaking directly to the partner, asking questions, and then it may be something that they just talked about last week. If she forgets part of the conversation you guys had, or she doesn't fully disclose everything or forget something, I explain to them, all right, this is the chance for you to step in and address the doctor. Like, oh, we also spoke about this. We also agreed upon this. We also want this to happen, or we don't want this to happen during delivery, things like that. So just trying to empower them on when to step in, when not to step in, when to take the lead, when to allow the partner to take the lead. So with expecting father group, it's kind of dual. And also to address what you said also about the word provider, Lahiri and I, in both groups, we make sure we always address terms like that. And we always trying to push the stigma away from provider as a father, meaning strictly financial. That is not what that is. We express to our father that they need to be mental providers, they need to be physical providers, they need to be present. They need to be, it's so much beyond financial responsibilities. They have so many, we as fathers and as parents overall, we have so many responsibilities to tend to our children that stretch so far beyond finances that we don't really even address that unless another father or someone else brings it up. And then we dispel that. And then we're providing you guys with so much information that, and we haven't said the word money, finances, buying anything, purchasing anything yet. So we try to avoid the word provider being labeled as something that's just strictly financial when it comes to father. And we understand that that's how we are approached a lot of times as fathers within society and within professional standards, that we get looked at as, you guys are here to pay for stuff, and then you guys can just sit in the back. And we come to learn that a lot of fathers that come to us and want to gain more knowledge of how to advocate and how to be there for their partner and how to really be there for their child, the last of their words is financially. It's really just, how do I be there? How do I help out? How do I make sure what I have in my mind that I feel like I want to provide to my child and teach my child, how do I get to the level where I'm comfortable enough and giving my child that information, giving my child that understanding, that experience. And it has, a lot of times, that has nothing to do with money.
I think excellent, just in terms of your answer and my understanding of it. My question, just to follow up on that, when going to perinatal appointments and when dealing with being present for labor and delivery, what I have found is that COVID has presented some unique challenges in that regard. How have you all began to traverse that? You know, when I have noticed with some systems that they change rules on a daily basis around partners and doulas and midwives and who can be there and who can't, who can leave and who can come back. How are you all, or are you all addressing that in a systematic way?
Yeah, so directly within our groups, the first thing I do is I ask them who are they going to see for their prenatal appointments. And then if they haven't even started that process yet, I ask them to reach out before you go. Don't listen to anyone who has already been to another medical facility, because like you said, every single facility, from my experience right now, every single facility has had their own separate rules. So I tell them directly before you go anywhere, call up there and ask them what are their policies, what are their rules, and then you guys make the conscious decision as a family if you want to stay there, if you want to go try and go somewhere else, depending on the situation. Also told each father that I've been working with to reach out to the hospital that they're actually be trying to deliver the baby in and ask about the rules. I know this year, so far, everything I've been hearing, every father I've worked with over our last 2 cohorts, so this year, they've been able to go into every facility, into every appointment so far. And I feel like that just changed like this year, because last year, none of them were going. They were just waiting outside. And even then, I was making sure that we were praising those fathers and giving them their kudos, because they weren't like, all right, well, I'll just see you when you get back home. Like, they were still going just in case they might get to go inside, and they were waiting in the car during the entire appointments. But it's also been a difficult thing because they've been having to get all of the knowledge secondhand from their partner, which is fine. The partner, they're pregnant, so they want to know all the information, but still they aren't able to ask questions from their point of view. They aren't able to receive the information from their point of view. They're having to get everything secondhand. So I think that's been one of the biggest frustrations for some of the fathers who've been involved, having to get everything secondhand. They feel like they might not be getting the exact proper terminology, or the message may not be getting conveyed to them properly. So I know that's been a big frustration. But for us, we've been telling them directly contact the facilities that you guys are going to and ask them their policies, because we're not COVID experts. We're not medical experts. We can't make people change their rules. So instead of putting it on us, like, I heard they're doing this over there and over there, it might be different. Like, no, reach out to them, get the actual information, and go from there.
So with that in mind, I mean, have you all even presented to them the option for, being on like a video chat? I know I shared with somebody when I was in the visit. I didn't know them. I was there for my own personal visit. And in my other role, even as a doula, I thought, like, because the guy was in the waiting room and he couldn't come back. And I said, why don't you ask the provider if you can go on video, right? Like on your phone, so you can FaceTime or whatever, so he can participate. Have those kind of conversations come up as well?
Yeah, so actually one of our earlier fathers gave me that idea. He said that his partner had him on FaceTime during the prenatal appointment. And so since then, I've been telling them, because I know some families like to have either their parents within the delivery room and things like that. I know a lot of hospitals have been saying only one person. And so the partners have been wanting the father to be there. And so I've been advocating for the fathers and for the partners. They do their birthing plan as they reach out to the hospital to ask them if they can do videos during the birth. So that way, whoever the actual important are, if they wanted to be there, if they can be in there during the childbirth.
Right. And I don't know why, I guess, I don't know that it's any different why videos would be different, because long ago, we saw lots of people doing videos of the birth. So, but it is good to go ahead and ask these questions so that, there's not any confusion, and it's already challenging for many in our community, because, folks have been upset because their birthing plan has changed a lot. One of the things that has come up, and I don't know if it comes up for you all, is that if you have conversations after the birth, but I know like some of the sisters shared recently at an event, Jan and them had Sisters at 8 on last Friday. It's like when the birthing plan changes, right, drastically, are there conversations even around like what is medically necessary? Because it sounded like from several of them, like their birth, like it was as if the nurses, I don't know if it was a physician's too, but the nurses were trying to rush the birthing process. And it's like labor can take, days. It can take hours. For some people, it's minutes. We don't want days, but, some of us were lucky enough to be done in a few hours. And some of us had to, some others, I won't say us, I was a few hours, but some others, it was a long time off. And have you guys had conversations about that?
Yeah, so that's one of the conversations that I have about understanding when to jump in and advocate for what's going on and when to step back. We usually get to that conversation after, because I've told them, like, nowadays I've noticed that after childbirth, they're usually getting the mother and the child out of there a little less than 48 hours sometimes. Discharge. And I was telling them, like, or I know at the very least stay 3 days and a little bit longer sometimes. And so I've introduced that conversation and letting them know that the plan can change, and step in with whoever is making the suggestion, question what it is that they're trying to change, what it is that they're trying to do, get all the information, why they're doing it, what the possible effects are. Also, even connected with medication. A few of the fathers have said the partners want to do all natural birth. And so I've tried to help them, like between you and your partner, you guys come up with a system to where where she's actually reached her, it's okay to introduce medication. Whether it's a numbering system between you two, a hand gesture between you two, where she's like, no, I'm okay, tell them still hold off on the medication, or no, I've reached my threshold, bring on the medication.
You're on mute, girl.
And that needed to be on mute because I was just a comment. It's like, yes, you need to know when you bring the drugs or when you can like, let's talk through this, let's breathe through this, and then they cuss you out type of thing. So and the number one rule of birth plans is be prepared to be flexible because it's going to change. Everything changed. No childbirth has been just according to the plan. Things change. So I'm going to talk about the fact that you all have this group and how people can get involved. Because I've had so many phone calls from folks who are looking for that fatherhood group or that daddy's group that is not connected to the criminal justice system, right? Because so many times folks are, just regular round the way brothers who want to be with regular round the way brothers to talk through this issue, and not those who are there because they're court ordered or something like that. So, because that has been part of the challenge also in terms of the stereotypes that are predominant in our community because we're over policed.
So you asked me, who are we partnering with or how can we partner with them? Or how do we do outreach?
What's the outreach in terms of how do brothers find you, especially regular brothers, right?
So within myself personally, how I've been reaching out to people and to spread the word. What we did was reached out to, there's a nursing coordinator that we have through not through PI, but through LA County that I got connected with. And I had her send out the email blast to a lot of the clinics that are connected to LA County. And so that way we can actually get the information in front of fathers who have children on the way. Aside from that, we've been using all of our employees, not my employees, my colleagues, networks, personal networks, and sharing our information and flyers. I've been connected with the mayor of Compton and letting her spread the word to her personal network. Also, fraternities and sororities have been helping us out with spreading the word, and social media right now. The next thing that I want to do, which is something we probably would have been doing from the get-go, but we weren't able to do because of COVID, is getting out there in physical places and passing out flyers and things like that, and me, myself, being able to interact with just people out on the streets. That's the next step, which in normal life would have been the first step, but because of COVID and us having to get things printed out and us having permission for me to actually be out around people, even before we were even allowed back in our own offices, that's the next step. But right now it's been really a lot of word of mouth. And even to further to your point, with people being concerned about something being connected to either the justice system or being looked at something connected to the county, like dealing with social work or something like that. We've even made sure like within our flyers that we pass out to the public, the county logo isn't on there. We don't want them to feel like it's something that's mandatory or something that they're being pulled into that's connected to something that as a stigma has a negative connotation to it. Because we have fathers who are part of families who may have received some type of benefits from the county, and some fathers who never even had to do that because they're in a different situation. So we don't want anyone to feel like they're signing up for a county group that they have to participate in every single day, and it's something mandatory and something connected to a judge or a courtroom. We're making sure that we're spreading the word like this is just for guys, presented and created by guys who are from Los Angeles also, and who are just trying to build a support system, a support group for other men. It's not something that's being fronted and put on by the county as something where we're just checking boxes and trying to make sure numbers are being counted.
Are you connecting at all with the health insurance companies like, say, HealthNet, LA Care, Kaiser, et cetera?
No, I have not been connected with them. But what the larger fatherhood group is doing for the state, we brought up the opportunity to try and connect with child support, and trying to connect with child support in a way where if we have fathers that are participating with us, that in some of our programs throughout the entire state, not just LA County, that are participating within some of our programs, where we can try and help them out with some type of way to work out child support to where it's a little bit easier to handle. But we have not done the insurance route. Not me directly.
I wanted to go back. I had a question too. So I know now, well, I wanted to go back to like and it would be good to look at how we also can help further support your outreach and engagement to ensure that other fathers learn about your work. But I want to go back to like the doula. How has the conversation been with the dads being educated on what a doula is and does versus a nurse, a midwife or nurse midwife? And how many are interested, or have you found folks interested in home births, or, you know, did they want to learn more about it? Or
I haven't had the fathers who are not already connected to doulas have been interested in home births, but they themselves were not interested in doulas. But they have mentioned that their partners were trying to get connected to doulas, in which we're able to tell them, like, we have a free program that's already directly connected to us. There's only one family I engaged with that was thinking about doing a home birth. And that was because, I'll be honest, she was like a big germaphobe. And she was like, she didn't want to step foot in the hospital. And she was like, the only way I'm going to the hospital is like, I'll have the baby in the tell them, come get me in the baby, check the baby, and we're going back home. So she was like really freaked out about going to the hospital. And then she got connected with a doula because she was like, I need some other assistance besides just, she didn't want to be in the hospital at all, really. But the fathers that I've had 3 fathers who are already connected to doulas, they were all pretty much informed about the information. They were already up on the information that I was providing them as far as like within the medical aspect. The only thing that they wanted was how to properly be an advocate. So they were already doing more than their part as far as educating the fathers that were.
okay, what about, and Jan has a question in the chat, we'll go to that after. What about for you, since you're now a CLES, and that stands for, I'll let you share with the group what.
It broke up. You said chat, and then I didn't hear you after the question.
I was saying, you're now a CLES. Have you had the conversation? Share with them what a CLES is.
I'm a certified lactation specialist. That's me.
Right.
I can't teach the classes, but I can help our clients. I can help the fathers assist with breastfeeding, and I can also provide the mothers on how to information on how to breastfeed, properly breastfeed.
I love it. Has that led you to have interest in becoming a doula?
The plan is for me to do the training to become a doula. But I know it's only held once, or I don't think it's even twice a year. It's once a year, correct?
Right. I think we're looking to gain more resources to be able to offer it more. But yeah, because there's a lot of folks in the community that want to become doulas, and there are men that have become doulas, or if we want to call them the doula. I don't know what what we want to call them, but we've had like Dustin on before, and there's another brother, I can't think of his name right now, that went through a cohort with me. It's almost been 2 years. Wow. The doula training as well. So
no, the first time it was offered.
Yeah. Have any of the fathers, have there been a discussion about a guy being the doula for their partner?
Yeah, so they've asked, like, are there male doulas, and if they are, get to choose if it's a male or a female. I was like, I've only been introduced to 2, so I've only been introduced to 2 male doulas, so I don't think you guys really have to worry about that at this point. But it seemed like they really into that idea, but possibly because they didn't understand fully what a doula is.
Right. I mean, not providing medical advice, don't to be touching, but yeah, I could see, look at Janet's on mute.
So I'm next in line.
Okay, perfect. In our we're gonna ask this last question, and then we'll you give out your closeout points after this question. But Jan, you want to ask your question? You're on mute. Yeah.
I know, I put a question in the mute. Just so many of Black children end up in the foster care system. So I was asking, my question is, how do we give guidance to dads whose children end up in the foster care system? Or are there any considerations that you all have around that? Because, you know, so many of our children end up in that foster care system just on a whim or, you know, a humbug. And then their fathers are like, you know, how do we give guidance to those special circumstances?
Well, for me, I tell them directly. I haven't had it within this role yet, but I have worked with other fathers who are going through the system. So for me personally, I always tell them to remain consistent and remain in constant communication with the social workers and the courts that are handling the case. Remain consistent and remain focused on getting your child back, no matter if the mother is involved or not. Do your part. Handle, if you have court mandates, make sure those are being completed and being worked towards in a timely manner. Do not fall behind on that. Because being honest, as Black fathers within that court system, you're starting behind the 8 ball from the get-go. Usually aren't going to get some of the breaks that some of the other people may get. You aren't going to get as many chances as some of the other people may get. And then within this role, we have actually done direct work with the DCFS office in Pasadena. So I was able to provide a training on how to better engage with fathers, and particularly with Black fathers, and the importance of the fathers within the role of children's lives. And that even opened up my eyes more, because that within that training, we learned that a lot of those social workers were going into homes, evaluating the home, and whether they made the decision or not to remove a child from the home, if the father was not there in the home, they'd even reach out to the paternal side of the family. So the fathers, if the child was removed from the home, the father wouldn't hear about it until the child was already within DCFS custody or when they were learning about a court hearing. And I was able to do that training because of my professional experience, but also my personal experience. I didn't go through that, but one of my older cousins did. And he was away for work in Arizona. His child was taken out here, but in San Bernardino County. All of our family is up in LA County. So my younger cousin was gone for about, I want to say 2 weeks before we knew. And then when my older cousin was headed back from Arizona to try and see if he could get my younger cousin back. And by the time we found out, I think we had 6 people that went to try and get my younger cousin back, because they never reached out to anybody on the paternal side of the family. And we had 6 people who would pass all their background checks. Our homes were perfectly fine. We would get our younger cousin. And to make a long story short, it didn't work out initially. We didn't get our younger cousin back until 8 months later, about 8 months later. And then even through that process, my older cousin, he couldn't get him back at first. His sister had to get him. So my younger cousin had to go with his aunt for about 3.5, 4 months before he was able to return back with his dad. And before that, he was in foster care for about 2 months. So to bring that back home, it's focusing on the fathers and telling them to remain consistent, remain in communication with the courts and with their social worker. And then the other side is trying to educate these working professionals who have the authority to remove a child from a home on making sure they take all precautions and check everything that they can to help that child remain within a natural home. Natural home meaning not a foster care system, not a group home, within a natural family member, whether that's the father's aunt, mother's aunts, or mother's grandparents, whatever, within a regular family member's household, instead of removing them completely from the natural family.
Thank you for that, Davion, and very glad that you're able to participate in that training. I'm sure and know that there's more to come on that, because we do need to build a better relationship with DCFS, and there are some conversations even with the school system on, you know, the racism and bias around, you know, when to call, when is not to call. And none of our work that we're doing is saying, hey, we want children, you know, we're okay with children being abused. That is by far not the case at all. But what we're not okay with is folks consistently, calling and having children placed in the foster care system. And we know within our community, a lot of our children have fared worse going into foster care. And they're, like you said, they're family members, a natural family that can, actually take part in that child's life.
You want them to do their due diligence and check
right. Exactly. Do your part, do your work. And so I'm very glad that you're able to share that with us. And then, just, your presence here. So it's very important because, yeah, that DCFS situation, we've had so many people that have reached out to us about it, and especially about the numbers that we've been told are very high numbers of children that were removed. Black children were the highest removed during COVID from homes. And so we know there's bias there. We know that there's also the challenges when Black families are not interested in having certain testing and screening done of their newborns or various things done. And when they are, instead of, in moving to a different situation, the threat, they're always threatened with the police or DCFS. But we know that we're not the only ones. Black folks are not the only ones that have done that. There's been numerous other races, especially white folks, do it in, we don't hear about the system being called on them. Like that.
Yeah, I think one of the things I wanted to comment on is that this whole issue of vaccination is actually becoming a foster. We're going to remove the children from your care because of vaccination or non-vaccination or compliance in medical compliance or not. So 80% of the kids in foster care system are Black kids. And that's a threat that is used against Black parents on the regular, right? And sometimes the threat is, even if you don't get this man out of your home, then we're going to take your kids away because they perceive the man as a threat for whatever reason they may or may not be. So that's why it's good to hear that you all are thinking about this and processing this, that you all have a message for Black fathers around consistent communication, and that you are working with those systems that we actually just need to deconstruct, tear down, et cetera, because they are not systems that are set up that will foster our families. They are actually set up to perpetuate the racism and inside these structures. So I appreciate the conversation, Davion, and I'm looking forward to more conversations as your program grows and as we figure out ways to work together.
Thank you. So last things, Davion, when is the next Black Daddy Dialogue?
This Wednesday.
Yes. Okay. Trick question, but yes, Wednesday. We'll be sure to drop the information and the flyer, put that out there. And then when is your next cohort for expectant fathers?
Right now, that Tuesday will be April 26th.
Okay.
2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, kicking off 2 weeks from today, folks. If you know some Black expectant fathers, then, Davion Maudlin is getting them ready. And, Henry and Jason are doing the work around Black Daddy Dialogues and this expectant fathers group. And we're happy to have them. And just so you know, our community, if you are a father of a Black child, you are welcome in this work. And even if you aren't and you want to be an ally and support, you can join our efforts with Black Women for Wellness. You can join our efforts with the AIM Initiative and the community action teams. We look forward to more engagement. We want men at the table, especially fathers with knowledge and experience. We want to hear the good and the bad. Recently, we had a conversation on domestic violence and intimate partner violence. And I'm not bringing this up because it's about men, but bringing it up about some of the issues in our community and how we're building the bridge and working to heal ourselves, because the bottom line is hurt people, right? And so we need to address some of the traumas in our community. And we've been in one of the most violent nations that started off when Black folks were brought here. The penalty was whippings and beatings and such. And so you can't expect some of that to not transpire in families and households. And so what we were looking to do in that conversation is even bring men who have advocates, or men or women who were previous abusers that have now changed and, made significant changes in their life. So again, we'll have more to explore and talk about. And so we want to thank you for joining us for I'm Just Saying, Two Black Women with Opinions, your very first podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem. We appreciate having you here. And so we're going to sign off. I'm Adjoa.
Just before we sign off, Davion, thank you for dropping your email into the chat, but could you say it out loud, because those folks on Facebook won't see it in our chat.
Okay.
Or on the live podcast, yes.
Okay. So my email is which turn? Right here.
Yep. But you got to say
There we go.
D Maudlin, MAULDIN at ph.lacounty.gov. D Maudlin at ph.lacounty.gov.
Thank you. And you can also find Davion's work at Black Infants and Families, Los Angeles, www.blackinfantsandfamilies.org, www.blackinfantsandfamilies.org. He will have a segment, Dear Baby, coming up soon, a video segment. And just look forward to much, much more happenings and going on. Jan, I will pass it to you for the closeout.
You're on mute.
What was that?
You're on mute.
Your closeout for
No, sometimes I start talking before I take myself off of mute, and sometimes the computer moves a little slower than I do. It should just be more intuitive in this regard. Thank you so much, Davion. Thank you for your flexibility and working with us. And I'm Just Saying, Two Black Women with Opinions. You can find our podcast on Buzzsprout, or you can find it on Spotify. And that's the name, I'm Just Saying, Two Black Women with Opinions. We are doing this for Black Mamas Health Week. And this is the second week in April, which is Public Health Month. So this particular week, we're celebrating Black moms and celebrating the solutions. How do we eliminate, not reduce, but how do we eliminate this health disparity that we are facing? My name, once again, is Jan Robinson Flint, and you can find me at bwwla.org, blackwomenwell.losangeles.org. That's our website. We'll also post this there. Because we want as many people to have this information as possible. Thank you, Ms. Jones. It is good being in partnership with you and just in awe of all the work that you are doing to eliminate this health disparity. Peace.
Peace. Thank you. And thank you to our behind the scenes intern, specialist, tech, and men support, and super young sister, Alexis. Thank you.
Alexis.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
We miss Sly, what is Sly? Our production, yeah, he's our production manager, all our voice stuff. So we'll get back to that possibly this week. So again, thank you all for being here. Peace. Peace. Davion. Y'all gotta stop streaming and record.